20 quadrillion ants. That number is so large it barely registers. But here's what should stop you cold. There are more ants alive right now than there are stars in the entire Milky Way galaxy. And somehow, these creatures, with brains smaller than a grain of sand, have built civilizations that have outlasted every empire humans have ever created. No language, no technology, no philosophy, no democracy. And yet, they're winning. Human societies collapse. Empires fall. Cities crumble. Institutions rot from the inside. Meanwhile, ant colonies have been running the same basic operating system for over 100 million years. Functionally flawless, almost zero bugs. That should make you deeply uncomfortable, because we have all the advantages. And they're still outperforming us at civilization. So are ants just lucky? Or are they doing something we haven't figured out yet? The answer is stranger than you'd expect. Here's the first thing that confuses most people. Ant colonies don't have a boss. The queen isn't issuing orders. She's not a ruler at all. She's a reproductive machine, laying eggs around the clock. Nobody tells the workers what to do. No manager, no overseer, no central intelligence of any kind. And yet, the colony functions like a single mind. Thousands of ants construct massive underground cities, complete with ventilation shafts, nurseries, food storage, and dedicated waste disposal, without anyone drawing up blueprints. They solve complex routing problems instinctively, finding the fastest path between nest and food faster than most modern algorithms. Leafcutter ants practice agriculture. Weaver ants build suspension bridges using their own bodies. Army ants form living rafts to survive floods, locking together into a structure that breathes and moves as one. Here's what most people miss. None of this requires intelligence the way we think about it. It requires something more powerful. A system. Ants communicate almost entirely through chemicals called pheromones. One ant finds food, lays a chemical trail on the way back, and others follow it. If the food is good, more ants reinforce the trail. If it runs out, the trail fades on its own. No meeting, no vote, no announcement. The entire colony updates its behavior in real time, automatically, based on direct feedback from reality. Decentralized, self-correcting, brutally efficient. Now compare that to how most human organizations actually work. Information crawls up the chain of command. A decision slowly filters back down. By the time anyone acts, the situation has already changed. The food is gone. The enemy has moved. And somewhere in a boardroom, 12 people are still debating the PowerPoint. But before we romanticize ant society, here's the part nobody warns you about. Ant colonies are not utopias. They're brutal. Workers are essentially disposable. A colony will sacrifice thousands of soldiers for a marginal territorial gain without hesitation. There's no individual rights, no upward mobility, no creativity, no meaningful rest. Worker ants don't even sleep the way we do. They take hundreds of micronaps throughout the day and keep working until they die. The colony doesn't care about the individual. The individual exists to serve the system. Full stop. That's the terrifying part of the ant model. It works precisely because the individual doesn't matter. So when we ask what ants can teach us, we need to be very specific about what we're borrowing. Because some lessons are genuinely valuable, and some would turn us into something most of us don't want to become. Here's what's actually worth paying attention to. Researchers call it the exploration versus exploitation problem. The question of when to keep searching for something better versus when to commit to what you've already found. Ant colonies solve this automatically. When food is abundant, most ants exploit existing trails. When supplies run low, scouts fan out to explore new territory. The ratio shifts in real time, without anyone deciding it. Humans are catastrophic at this. We overexploit what's already working until it collapses, then panic and scramble to explore when it's almost too late. You can see it in dying industries, in failing governments, in careers that plateau and stagnate. We stay on the trail long after the food is gone, because changing feels risky and habit feels safe. Then there's redundancy. Ant colonies build failure tolerance into the architecture itself. If a tunnel collapses, another gets dug. If a food source disappears, another is found. No single ant, no single route, no single system is irreplaceable. The entire structure is designed to absorb shocks and keep moving. Modern human infrastructure works the opposite way. One supply chain disruption, one server failure, one bridge collapse, and entire systems seize up. We engineered out the redundancy in the name of efficiency. Ants would consider that suicidal. And then there's the question of scale. An ant colony doesn't try to grow infinitely. When it gets too large to function, it splits. A new queen leads a group out to found a fresh colony. They don't attempt to manage 50 million ants under one roof. They distribute. They branch. They stay at the size that can actually sustain itself without central control. That's a principle almost no city, corporation, or government ever applies. But here's the insight that reframes everything. Ants don't build extraordinary colonies because they're intelligent. They build them because their system doesn't depend on any individual ant being intelligent. The genius isn't in the ants, it's in the design of the system itself. The pheromone trails, the division of roles, the real-time feedback loops, all of it creates a kind of emergent order that no single ant could ever produce alone. We've spent centuries trying to build better societies by producing smarter leaders, crafting better policies, building more sophisticated institutions. But what if the architecture is the problem? What if we've been obsessively optimizing the individual ants when we should have been redesigning the trails? Ants have been running their experiment for 100 million years. They didn't get there through genius. They got there through systems that are honest, adaptive, and mercilessly self-correcting. The colony is smarter than any ant in it. And if you sit with that idea long enough, really sit with it, it starts to feel less like a fact about insects, and more like the one lesson human civilization has never quite managed to learn.